Hello and welcome to PM Express. Today is Corporate Wednesday. My name is Nana Ansakwa. Now you see, normally government corporations either fail, collapse, or don't have a good story to tell. But today I'm talking to one of the few that are breaking this norm, and they have a good story to tell. You see, when the Ghanaian sends out for a newspaper, he says, go and buy me graphic. Now, the Daily Graphic has been in existence since 1950 and has grown from strength to strength. Recently, Graphic Communications Group Limited relaunched its flagship newspaper with improved value. Now, how do they manage to stay ahead of the pack and remain relevant in today's Ghana? And this is an issue we will be exploring today. But first, though, let us take a look at how you actually get your Daily Graphic every morning.
Theoretically, I would say that we don't actually have a day, have a particular time to start work and a particular time to go to bed, because as a newspaper organization, whether the paper has gone to bed or not, you still have to keep on checking whether there is any breaking news, for which reason you may have to change some of the things that you have done for the day. But practically, what I would say is that our day starts in the morning with the reporters going out to cover assignments or to conduct interviews. Our business here is basically to collect information, process the information, package the information, and sell. So when they come in the morning, the roster is there. We assign the reporters to go and cover the various other beats or events that are taking place in the country or in Accra in this particular case. But because we are in the era of ICT, some of the reporters have iPads. So when you cover an assignment, you may not necessarily have to come back to your office to submit your story. So on location, if your story is ready and you have an iPad, you can send your story to the office through the mail. In selecting the papers, we are mindful of national cohesion. We are mindful of national development. What are some of the things that will engender development? What are some of the things that will act as a brake on our development process, for example? And when we have checked all that, then we will select about 15 of them or so, and then we organize editorial conference at 1 o'clock. And that editorial conference is presided over by the editor. Then we have all the page editors attending. Then we have the photographer, the chief photographer, also there. And then the designer is also there. But let me also say that we organize morning conferences, not every day. We organize morning conferences in the morning, on Mondays, on Wednesdays, and on Fridays to look at our production. What have we done right? What have we done wrong? What stories to follow up? Then ideas from our colleagues who will attend the conference as to what to look for in the course of the day. So in the afternoon, when we have gathered all the stories, then we present them to the editorial conference. I've said it already that the conference is presided by the editor. If in the absence of the editor, the deputy editor presides. Then we present the stories for the editorial conference to debate, look at the stories that will sell, look at the stories that will bring about development, the stories that draw us back as a nation. You get it? So when we have done all that and debated the issues, then the editor will instruct the chief sub to select the stories for the next day's production. Now, in selecting the stories, I've already indicated to you that there are several factors. Some of them I've mentioned to you. Is it possible that the paper will sell? Is it possible that we can advance our nation as a development, advance our development as a nation? Is it possible that these things are bad, that we have to draw official attention? Do we need to carry certain reports that will draw attention of either the government or whoever is in society to respond to those issues which we are raising?
We have quite a very elaborate, even before it gets to the printing press, from design to proofreading to night decks. Then it now goes to image setup, where the images are looked at again, and the combination between adverts and news is then placed in the newspaper. And from there it is transferred through electronic means to the computer to play it. That is CTP. In the past we used to do film, but it's now straight from computer to play it. From there it goes to other processes before the printing actually takes place. So it's quite a very elaborate thing, but because we have one of the latest printing presses in the whole of West Africa, it is faster. That's why we can get to the market very early. So anytime that we delay the processes in the editorial, it affects the whole chain, and therefore every now and then management is on us to meet the timeline so we can get to the market very late, because news is a perishable item. If you get to the market late, you are in trouble.
It can be 10 o'clock in the night and there's some breaking news, you can't allow it to go. So you may have to stop the process and do the story and then make sure that the story is published in the next day's paper. Otherwise, what you can do is that let the paper go and then maybe supply what you have done already to the regions, and in Accra do another front page story to reflect the breaking story and let it spread, in which case you will have 2 editions instead of 1 edition. That is when there is an emergency, like you can't let it go. But the way or the time is so late and the processes are far advanced that you can't stop the process. So what you may decide to do, instead of maybe printing about say 500,000, you may decide to print 200,000 and send the 200,000 copies to regions outside Accra and take care of the breaking news. Make sure that you are able to make provision for that, to process it, and then give that paper to Accra. And it's teamwork. My work is dependent on another person's work. So unless we work together, you fail. Any drawback on any of the stages will affect the whole process.
We're trying to reach out to Ghanaians in recent times with a new look daily graphic. Yes, if somebody will ask why we are doing this and were we not doing well in the past, we were doing very well. Graphic is synonymous to newspaper in this country. Anybody wanting somebody to buy a newspaper will say buy a graphic. It's only when the person returns that he will say, I want the other graphic and not this one that I've brought. So, and indeed also we are the flagship of the nation. Everybody looks at graphic and says that this is gospel. It represents the voice of the nation. So we are very particular about our professional standards and making sure that what we put out there is wholesome.
And the imaging section is the beginning of production. So they pick the raw news from editorial, and then they pick adverts. Then they combine it because you realize that some of the papers have a combination of both news and adverts. So they go through those processes till to finish the last page. We are not using films again these days. We have passed through those stages already. What we're doing now is what we call the CTP, computer to plates. This is where the plates and things are done. So he loads the plate into the system, and the plate takes away. Release it. So it's going to now put the image on the plate. It takes about 2-3 minutes to realize that it's completed with the imaging. Okay, and it comes out, you realize that now the plate is going to the other side. On the bed, that is now going to go through the process. So there are little human interventions in terms of you touching the plate. We're going to process the plate by hand manually. Everything is automation. And it has, assuming you had a lot of files, once this one releases, it tells you that put another plate for it. So at this stage, it is ready for the press. But there are 1 or 2 operations that we need to do on the plate. We need to create certain footholds on the plate so that it can be fixed on the plate and so that it won't take off. Okay? And that process we call the bending of the plate and then the punching of the plate so that it can actually fit in the machine. This is the next stage. Like I said, because we needed the footholds on the press, what it's going to do now is punching, creating those holes alongside the plate so that they can actually fit the various holes. The plates are also sent on the press and they are fitted, okay, in the press, in the various units, depending on the number of pages that we're going to do. We have what we call 3 towers. If it's 16 pages, we'll use 1 tower. If it's 32, we use 2 towers. If we are doing 64, 48, we use all the 3 towers. Okay, and it gives us a combination of both black and white and color. As they come through the folder, all the pages that you see, the individual sheets now come together. Because there are knives up there that slit up the paper and put them together, and then they come as a package. So whether we're doing 16 pages, whether we are doing 32 pages, whether we're doing 64 pages, they come like this as a product and goes into the system to the finishing end. So from here, we call it the finishing end. You can actually see the process now. It counts at the top there, 50 drops, then 10s. Counts, drop, then it pushes. Once it gets to the 200, it pushes it away. Then another batch comes. It's in a paper stand. So do we also have the ink stands. And they all passes through pipes. So at the end there you see 4 pipes, each representing a color. So they suck the inks into the system, straight into the machine. You know, and there are sensors within the machine that sense whether there are inks in there or not. When the inks drops to a certain level, they automatically pump into it. So again, there are a little bit of human intervention because of the sensors. Okay, and these are primary colors that we use, the usual red, cyan, magenta, and black. You know, but when it gets into the system, through the way we've done the separation from image right down to here, they do their own separation, and then you get what actually is on there.
We want our readers to also express their opinion, even in the editorial column, what we think that we are sharing opinion on and the position of the paper. We want the readers out there to also so speak out their minds. And we are doing, and again, we want to use illustrations, we want to use photographs, we want to use color to be able to make the newspaper more reader friendly, and that is what we are doing. There are new columns that now, if you look at our front page, we hardly will carry any text, unlike the past where you had so many stories fighting for attention. And today you see mostly text and there's the headline and pictures. So you can see the difference. We do not want to look ordinary and just be following everyday events today. We want to really be an agenda-setting newspaper where we raise the issues and let the policy makers follow us to address them. So that is the way we want our newspaper to look, and not just that, to make sure that the newspaper is as friendly as possible and anybody picks it who wants to read.
Well, so now at least you know how you get your daily graphic every morning. You just go to the stands and pick it up, and the behind the scenes, my God, lots and lots are gone. I'm going to take a quick break, but before I do, let me just remind you I just want you to find out, come onto social media and tell me if the new design, a new graphic, what do you think about it? Whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether you need more or less. I want you to tell me that. Come to Facebook. So you can find us on Facebook on My Joy News on TV. My Joy News on TV on Facebook. Twitter, the handle is Joy News on TV. And then the short code text messages across all network, that's 1760. Or you can WhatsApp us on 0544 334722. The WhatsApp number again is 0544 334722. Let's join in this conversation, but I'm told that I need to talk to my guest a bit more before I take the break. With me in the studio is Ken Ashibe, who I'm welcoming him home, and is also the director of Daily Graphic. Ken, I always like to shake my guest and give her, but you don't need a shake. You should be shaking my hands. You should be shaking my hands. Ken, first of all, this, there was an illustration that, like, if a news breaks and it's like they've already started printing the paper, then they need to break. Has it ever happened?
Well, I think it happened once. The stadium disaster, when the stadium disaster happened, the news broke a bit quite late and the processes were going on. But it was an important news to go, so you needed to continue the process but still be able to capture that story. So there's a bit of that early edition, but then majority of it at some point we stopped press and then did revise the story, and so the later edition had the stadium disaster captured in there. So
you'd have two papers in the stands with one not having.
So what would you do is that normally the early edition will go to the very outlandish areas. Currently in Ghana, we're still printing everything in a car and then transporting it by road. Now, thank God, we're now going by air to Tamale and Bolga, So the very far places had to go, and then the other areas then got a later edition.
Okay. And then, the plate business. After they've done that, can you reuse it or then you
No,
discard it?
Unfortunately, you cannot. So what we need to do is to find ways of recycling, using that for other things. So yes, it's once it's gone, it's gone.
Okay, and then he was going about 16 pages, 32 pages, 64 pages. Those are the numbers you go by?
Yes, so normally it goes in, it's multiples of 16, so you do your 16 or even 8. So you can do a 16, you can do a 32, you do a 48, you do a 64. We do
so
80 pages.
If there isn't enough stories to cover like 8 pages, then you have to stop here.
So normally what we do is that there's a bit of planning that goes in there, because you need to write the adverts as well as the content. So you need to do a good mix of that. So you would find out that yes, content would drive it. If you have a lot of content, you could increase the pages. If you have a lot of adverts, then you definitely have to do a good blend of your adverts and the content. So that then tends to drive what we do.
Why not 24 pages?
Well, the interesting thing, we started off as an 8-page. When we started off in 1950, it was 8 pages. But, now that you have, thank God, we're growing as a middle class. So in terms of even being able to satisfy all the businesses, there's a need for a lot of adverts. But then also there are other areas you need to cover in terms of content. I was just
trying to find out why multiples of 8 and not multiples of 6 or multiples of 4.
I think it is inherent in the design we currently have, the press design. That's what it is.
And how many papers can you produce at maximum?
Well, currently in the straight mode, we can do 72,000 copies per hour. That is the speed of the new equipment. Okay. That high quality at that high speed. The thing is that we normally don't do, we do collect mode, which then drops the speed a bit. But that you can easily do 50,000 copies within an hour. So there's a lot that we can do. Exactly, yeah.
Okay. And so how many are you doing now? What's your maximum you're selling?
Really?
Or average you're selling?
It's a number. Well, we normally would not throw out, we're doing the hundreds of thousands, but it varies. There are a lot of things that content can drive it, depending exactly what's happening. Another thing that also can drive it is the weather. When it's raining, it affects your sales a bit. So all of that tend to affect it. And depending on the stories that happen, if a major thing should break, it also then tends to affect what you do.
Ken, one thing that would amaze, first of all, you're a success story, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Because normally when you're talking about a government corporation, it's a sad, abysmal story. Why? But this is, before the rebranding, you were still leading. You were doing good. So why change the winning team? Or?
Well, I think that is a philosophy that has been at Graphic. You find out that if you go from 1950 onwards, we've always led the curve. We've always created that change, because we're the first to move to color, we're the first to do, CTP, we're the first to do it. The reason is because our readers are demanding more. There's a lot of research that's constantly going on, and then you're trying to find out what it says that your readers want. And sometimes you want to listen to that silent voice of the things that your readers want that they really do not know that they want. So you're constantly in touch with your readers, your vendors, your advertisers, and you're trying to make sure that how do I satisfy them. But most importantly as well, we are now in a global village, so, there are times that, there's a good story told of one of my forebears who went to a conference outside and he took his daily graphic with him. And everybody started pulling his paper out, you realize that, this is not something you wanted to show, And seriously speaking, before we had done this, if you go to Kenya, you go to South Africa, even see the Nigerians, the quality of the paper. So we needed to ensure, that we're benchmarking internationally. And we believe that what we've produced now, it's a paper that if you go anywhere else, you can put graphic down and then you're sure that you can tell a good story for Ghana, because one of the major things we want to do as a business is to become the multimedia company, the dominant multimedia company in West Africa, telling the African story. So if you want to do that, you cannot just stay and in your little pond and say that you are king of the pond and you're fine. So we need to make sure that we're benchmarking with the Kenyans, the nation, the standards. You go to South Africa, we're able to play with them, we're able to play with the Nigerians, then would say that we've arrived.
I'm really, really curious as to what you, the viewers, I'm sure you've seen the new design and you've read it. I'm really curious as to what you think it is. And again, I said, come onto Facebook and post your comment there, which is if you find Joy News on TV, Twitter, again, Joy News on TV. You can send a WhatsApp on 054433 4722, 054433 4722 on WhatsApp, or send your text message across network, which is 1760. It's, we all have a stake in it. Let's see if they've spent our money wisely or not. I personally think it looks the business, but I want to know what you think. But Ken, is it too early, or do you think it's made an impact in terms of sales and response?
Well, I think I'd want to say in terms of impact, yes, well, we just did it in June, on the 7th of June, so it's early days yet. But, they say, agrobeswa if you're not, you know what I mean? So already we're beginning to see the comments that we're getting. You're getting people applauded, people saying it's good. Sales are beginning to pick up. But I would say we would want to really access this thing after 3 months, And as we all would always say, the redesign is a process, because when we're starting it, because it was a new thing, you did not want to reveal a lot of things, so we could not test it fully. We did a bit of test with a few of the elements that we introduced. You could see a lot of the interactivity that we had introduced into it. We brought a bit of it early. The cartoon started a bit early. We got some, feedback. We got some backlashes. We got it better. So as the process goes along, the various elements we've introduced into it, the vox pops we've introduced, the fact sheets, the short read. So now for people who are very busy, you're giving them a 30-second read, you're giving them a 1 minute read, you could even do a 3 minutes read, so that you've broken the paper in bits such that people can come and choose the bits that they want. And for the reader who really also wants a mouthful, want to sit down with this paper and read it for a long period, you also have that content in. But it's something that on a constant basis we are engaging with our stakeholders to be able to get the feedback out of them to make it better. It is definitely your number one newspaper made better, and that it's definitely going to be a process, and we want to make sure that Ghana wins with this.
Redesigning and the beauty and everything, are you sacrificing good content so that it looks beautiful, or are you trying to blend the two? Because normally you need to sacrifice to get the beauty.
Well, the interesting thing is that when we're doing the redesign, one of the things we said is that if people will remember a nice paper rather than the content, then our job is not done. So content led it. The whole redesign was led by content, because people don't really come to buy a nice paper. What they want to come and buy is they want content, they want information, they want education, they want entertainment. But the good thing is that you need to package it in such a way that it's nice. So we really have looked at content. One of the major things we've tried to do is to be able to position the paper as a leading issues where we're not just following events as they happen. So we're moving a lot more from the he said, they said things, and trying to do a bit more of analysis, news analysis, a bit more details in terms of features and all of that, taking the issues that really matter. We're moving also, yes, the Constitution in Chapter 12 tells us to hold, officialdom to accountable to the people. But it's not only just focusing on officialdom. We think that sometimes we need to hear the voice of the people themselves, the things that really matter to the people, making sure that their voices are also heard in the paper. So you see a lot of interactivity in the paper. My voice, where would you take a big issue that matters to somebody somewhere and make sure you bring that voice in there, and then go to officialdom if there's a response that you need to get there. You do the vox pops, which is the little thing, getting people also to respond. Because fortunately for you in TV, what the beauty of what you're saying, telling everybody on social media, participate in the conversation. If print stayed static, it would die. Print needs to evolve. The way the reader, the viewers, the audiences are responding, we need to be responding to that. And so there's definitely, I'm sure my background from radio and TV has affected the way we've done some of these things. And the team in graphic also accepted the fact that we needed to do a blend of that and give a lot more of the voice of the people in the paper. And definitely that's beginning to tell.
Okay, I'm going to take a break here, and then when I come back, we'll continue the talk. But it's very interesting. There are so many other questions which I know you're going to ask. And my last question to him is, how has the team stayed so committed, even though they're doing government? But he's not going to answer that after the break. Further down, there are more questions before that. Stay tuned, we're coming back. Hello and welcome back to PM Express. I am speaking to Kenneth Ashigbe, who is the Managing Director of Daily Graphic. I beg your pardon. But before then, he's an in-house man. His belly button was snipped off and buried somewhere in here. So he's home one way or the other. We're talking about the rebranding of Daily Graphic. We're talking about the success story, because normally government corporations are not that much of a success story. But now I want to move into environment. I want to find out, Daily Graphic, and the environment, your new colors, this plate that you have to discard and stuff like that. As a corporation, how are you, handling that?
Well, I think I need to make this point quickly, otherwise my other branch will kill me. I'm not managing director of Daily Graphic. I'm managing director of the Graphic Communication Group. Daily Graphic happens to be one of our brands. We have the Mirror, we have Graphic Sports, Graphic Showbiz, Junior Graphic, Graphic Business. Before then, Daily Graphic definitely is the flagship. It's the oldest. Well, the interesting thing is that we take them being green very important. It is part of our corporate social responsibility. We believe we need to leave the world a better place than we met it. And definitely our activities would impact on trees and, and that's the environment. So one of the things we're trying to do is how best do we utilize paper. So we try as much as possible to cut waste down. It's one of the KPIs that we measure. The industry standard is 3% waste, but we're pushing to 2%. And it's the reason why we've gone for the new technology. The computer to plate eliminates the film. Definitely, that's another thing of making the environment a better place. We're trying very hard to make sure that effluent, that leaves our production, we're dealing very well with it. So we're working with the EPA to make sure that our processes are very green. Even when it comes to the use of energy, it's something really we're looking at. When you're running a company where you're paying like 60, just for our offices in Accra, you're paying 60,000 cedis a month for electricity bill. It's important that you find ways of reducing not just your bill, but also your carbon footprint. So we're looking into using greener technology for lighting. We're looking into the possibility of, even in terms of our air conditioning, how do we run it in such a way that we are very efficient in what we do. So being green, it's a major objective. And I'm sure in the long term, we would need to start looking into the possibility of recycling even the paper that we're using, such that we can put it back into production. Really, it's a process. Our volumes in Ghana are really not that large, but as it grows along, it's something that we really need to look at. So definitely, it's really part of the whole mind change in graphic, where we want to ensure that, part of our corporate social responsibility is not just what we give to people, but how well we are treating the environment, and we're making sure that we're keeping the environment better than we have met it.
Okay, another thing is, and probably doesn't make, because of how efficient your machines are, and you probably have more room to produce than, do you print for other media houses and charge them? Which will save the environment,
I think that's a very good point you make.
Maximize on profit.
Because currently, as we said, we're doing about an odd, kicking to about 50% of capacity. Wow. And that's really, underutilizing the equipment. So we are printing for a few brands. We print a few, I think about 3 or 4 brands are printed on our press. But interestingly, it still does not make any difference. I'm sure
so
if we added...
There's room for more.
Exactly. If we printed all the newspapers in Ghana, because the volumes of our competitors are not that high, it still will not be able to make it. So one of the things we have done is we're converting the press from just a pure newspaper press into a book press. It is a shame that in the country of Ghana, every printing that we do, we're taking it outside. What is happening is that the students are being trained from KNUST. Currently, you find them that the big presses that should be doing these books are doing the small things that the young people should be doing. Exactly. So we're hoping with this investment that we've done, and in July, we'll complete the installation of the quarterfold that will make the press a book press as well. Then we would be able to print all the textbooks that the Ministry of Education will be able to produce in Ghana, collaborate with other printers in Ghana to be able to finish them, and we'll be able to deliver the quality that they want, we'll be able to deliver the speed that they want, and at prices that are competitive. And it's one of the things that we believe that will be contributing to the development of Ghana. We're not looking just at graphic, but we think that as a country, we need to start owning and making sure Ghanaians are owning the heights of industry. And it's a shame that it's not happening. And we believe as graphic, that is one of our duties, to be able to pull other Ghanaian companies together to own the heights, of our industries in this country. So that's one of the things that we're doing to make sure that we can deal with the capacity that we have on the press. And once we've done that and we've looked at Ghana, we then can go outside the sub-region and see if we can get other printing jobs in the sub-region also to put on the press.
The other thing that amazes me, that's really commendable. Another thing that really amazes me is the logistics of delivering the papers. And now you said that thankfully you can fly them to Tamale. Yeah. But once upon a time, I'm sure it wasn't there. So how did you get the papers nationwide?
I think that's for me. And now I wrote a better. But if I look down in the 1950s, where they were able to use mummy trucks to be able to distribute newspapers throughout the country, it's really surprising. And it's really a difficult task, because you are printing in Accra, and by the time 11 o'clock, you're supposed to set off and be able to get these papers everywhere for us at Graphic, it is not just the commercials, it's not profit that is only the thing. You want to make sure that everybody in Ghana can read the paper. I remember going to Bolga, when I went to Bolga the last time, I was in Wa, and the papers got there around 5 o'clock, because we had a breakdown on the Kumasi route. Because for Wa, the road between Tamale and Wa is so bad that even if the papers, you want to send them by air to Tamale and go by road, it will be bad. So we go to Kumasi and leave Kumasi by public transport to Wa, because unfortunately the volumes there are also not huge, so you cannot put your own vehicle there. When I got to Bolga as well, I found out that though we're getting to Tamale early enough, we're going by public transport. So immediately you had to put another pickup on that road to be able to get to Bolga. So that's what we're doing. We're going, and it's really crazy. At Graphic, you buy a vehicle, within a year, you've done over 100,000 kilometers.
Wow.
So really, it's a major source. The cost of running newspaper is the distribution, and one of the things we're trying to do with that, and I'm sure you'll be hearing it very soon. We'll be advertising it even on this platform. Is converting our whole distribution chain into a profit center, into a courier system, so that we don't only carry our papers, but we can carry any dry cargo for anybody, because there's a lot of expenditure that is going into that particular area, and we need to find ways of leveraging on it. You need to find ways of increasing it, because unfortunately there's some areas that are still getting their papers late.
Let me pause a bit. So let's say I have a package to go to Kumasi, and I know by all means in the morning you guys go to Kumasi. I can bring the package and say, look, deliver it tomorrow morning.
Exactly. We are currently talking to the regulators of the courier system. So once they give us the license, that's something that we're going to do. So we'll be able to tell you that get your parcels to Accra, get your parcels to Kumasi at a particular time, and by this time we'll be able to deliver the parcels for you in other areas. Because it's really important that we find ways of investing into that, so that areas that are not even commercially viable now to say.
Hello. Sometimes I wish, even when the commercials are going on the camera, because sometimes the conversation behind the scenes is amazing anyway. But I'm talking to Ken from the Graphic Corporation, one of the directors who's making phenomenal changes there, or bringing life, or he's got his new team and everything. It seems to be beautiful. But Ken, is there ever going to be a time that there'll be a mini Graphic in Kumasi or Sunyani or somewhere in Tampo? Because everything seems to be Accra.
Well, and then I think it's a great question you ask, and trust me, when I was going to Graphic, one of the requirements of the NMC when they laid out the job was that we're supposed to put our vision paper together. And one of the things I said was, why is it that, we're printing only in Accra, but, why can't you have a press somewhere in Kumasi to handle, But I got in there and I realized that the cost of those equipment, and then unfortunately was selling about 60% or so in Accra. What I mean? And really, it's a shame. And I think it is a failure of all of us as a people, where as Ghana, we've kept everything in Accra. The whole development of this country is in Accra. Everything you want to do. And I think you made a phenomenal point that even if you want to die, you need to come to Accra, tell you to be shot. The shooting range is in Accra. And if and I know I will never become a politician, but if I could speak to the president or any politician, one of the things I would suggest is the fact that we should move the ministries, we should spread them across the country. So that if you also wanted to get a passport, now you leave Accra and go to Tamale and go get your passport. So that when we do that, it would spread the development in the whole country. One of the statistics that came from the last census was the fact that I don't know what the year was, 32% urbanized. But currently now we are around 65%. And unfortunately, it's not urbanized nationwide though. It's Accranized. All of us have moved into Accra. And I think it's a shame. So to answer your question about when we're going to have, a press there, it's really, in as much as we want to help push development,
the markets
the markets have to, exactly. So it's the reason why we're currently subsidizing going by air to Tamale, to Bolga, and I'm praying that the civil aviation authorities and airport people will sort wire outside that Amtrak will be able to fly to Wasa, that will be able to send the papers there. And then I'm hoping that once we get development into those areas, then it will be a market-led thing, so that you don't just go and put the equipment there and it's not efficient, nothing is happening. And then also, who knows, once there's an integration of the sub-region, maybe to make sense to put a press in Tamale to be able to serve, the Sahel region. So all of those things are in the works. And
Ken, let me move to objectivity. Now, we live in a very polarized country without no fault of yours. And this is a government institution. And every now and then the government really do, fall foul to their own laws. How are you able to print and say, as for this situation, it was wrong? How are you able to print?
Well, I think, let me say this, that since I became managing director, I've not had a lot of, nobody's called me to say, do the story, do that story. I know, and the interesting thing is that, we get bashed by, the government, we get bashed by the opposition. Oh, you are here. Yeah, I remember going to, there was an event at one of the embassies, and it just was in one sitting. I finished talking to one of the NDC political bigwigs, chastising me of the way we're treating, and it was all the court aides, the way we're treating the court case. I just finished and I turned around. There was another MPP person who was chastising me. You know what I mean? So it is, and I tell my reporters that our mandate comes from the Constitution, Chapter 12. We're supposed to hold everybody to account. And the interesting thing is that we are not a government-owned newspaper. We are a state-owned newspaper. All of us own it. But we definitely, in the same, Constitution, we're also supposed to give the government, the states, access to the media. So definitely, we need to help the government. And you see, when you talk about the government, it's the executive, the legislature, the judiciary. You need to give them space to be able to sell their messages. So we will do that. But in doing that, we need to be mindful to the fact that our mandate is to the people of Ghana. Our mandate is to all of us to help in the development. So it's a difficult thing we need to do.
One thing that the politicians will complain more is that it looks as if that this other party's leader's picture was like blown up and mine one was obscure in the corner.
Well, it happened not too long ago where people, I think we're on Alaji was Kwesi Pratt, counting particular pictures we've done, and because of that we're biased, So, but I tell my people, some of these things, when these pock shots come, we should take them, look at them and see how can we get better, because it's about being objective. Another interesting one, which is running, and we've gone to the Media Commission to complain to the Media Commission, is this thing that the CPP said that we did. But the CPP story was carried from their report. It is a report that is signed by all of them. A reporter from Graphics spoke to the chairperson of CPP. Instead of her addressing the issues that were raised, she was trying to find out what was the source of the journalist story. But me and you know that a journalist would never tell you his sources. And so we think that for such a situation, then we have Mr. Jimfa also accusing us of taking money. We've taken him to the Media Commission for them to be able to prove to us, because we believe that we did a good job. And for me, I would go to prison with my reporters. Push in, I would go to prison with them. All I tell them to do is to make sure that we do the right thing, because the interesting thing is that we should not be thinking about what happens to us today. People might do things to you today, but that's not what matters. Look at what happened to Kwame Nkrumah, then we got to the millennium, and what then happened. So I tell my journalists, and I tell to all of us who are in the media, journalists, that we should be thinking about what legacies we're going to be leaving tomorrow. No person in any business has the right to tell us journalists has to do our jobs. What they need to do, they can advise. But we are supposed to be professional. So we need to self-critique ourselves and make sure we're doing the right thing. And once you're right with your conscience, you're making sure that the ethics of your profession, you're being true to them. We should not be afraid.
The bottom line of all this is money.
Correct.
Yeah, we need to tell the good story, the ethics and everything, but we need money to run the corporation. The new design, has it made the paper easier to sell, or advertising spaces easier to sell, or we're still the same?
Well, I think one of the things we tried to do with the new design is the fact that, we've tried to incorporate adverts into the paper without being so obvious, without overwhelming the reader. So you find out that we are wrapping a lot of the content around advertising, such that we can give the advertiser a better return on investment. We've created a premium page where you could have, instead of a big full page, you have a page where you have only your adverts in there, and then you have content around it. It's similar like what you do on TV, where as you're showing this, you can do your scrolls, you can do a squeeze back, and then you could have some adverts around it, so that as the person comes and the person is consuming the content, the person also then gets to consume the advertiser's ad, and then the amount of eyeballs that is on it is increased. So definitely yes, the redesign has, apart from making the paper easier on the eye, apart from increasing the white space around it, working on the font, changing the font and all of that, it's also looked into the issue of a good blend between the adverts and then content, such that you, the reader, do not feel that you are being overwhelmed by the adverts, but then advertiser also gets a better way of communicating directly to you. So that's something that we definitely has put into the paper to make sure, because from the way the business is going, it will come a time that it's advertising that has to pay for the paper.
Ken, most things that are very, very relevant to us Ghanaians, especially today, don't make the front page. Girl child education, female circumcision, even normal education, and they don't make front page. Is there ever going to be a time that maybe you sacrifice the Monday's front page to a particular cause, protecting river bodies, trees, or something? I don't know. A particular day that say, look, for every Friday we're going for trees or we're going for girl child education, even though it doesn't sell. But with you guys have the monopoly, whether we like it or not, we need to find out what's in the graphic. So maybe you're in an advantage of doing that. Is this something feasible?
Well, I think it's something that we can do or we've done. If you look at the Galamsey stories, there are times where, the whole front page has been that. The Galamsey thing has been a crusade we have done for a long time. I remember going to Obuasi early 2012 and talking against it, and I think the old retired miners were on my case. And then I said to them that this is definitely something we're going to follow. So we've done that. And I completely hear you saying that the issues that are relevant to Ghanaians are the things that we should be pushing. Ghanaians are tired of the politics. But you see, still when it comes to the people buying, we need to be mindful of that. So, and the thing about it is the fact that you need to bait. Because if you put just the developmental and you don't make it interesting enough to be able to put on the front pages, and the people don't buy it, then they'll not even be able to read the other issues you're talking about. So we're pushing our people to say, let's move and pick those issues, but let's make it interesting, such that people want to read it. Definitely it has to do with the style of writing, and it's one of the things that we're changing. It has to do the way, it should be storytelling. If you have a very good education story, a very good female circumcision story, and you package it well, it can still find space on the front page. So it's something that we're doing. Some people are not really happy about the fact that we're not dedicating the front all to politics these days, but we think that is the way to go.
Ken, now my question, and I'm sure all my viewers are waiting for that question, because people or Ghanaians, normally when we work for a government institution, half-heartedly, we don't put in our all because we don't feel that connection. What is it that graphic is doing that keeps you ahead year in, year out? Because there are private newspapers where in normal sectors, the private, like in telecom, the private guys do better than the government ones. So what is it that you guys are doing that's keeping you ahead of the private ones? And maybe the other government institutions will pick some and then...
Well, I think it's the way graphic was set up. Graphic was set up by Cecil King, from the Mirror Group in 1950, and it was set up for profit. Even when Kwame Nkrumah took graphic over, it still had that mandate. Our sister Ghanaian Times was set up. They were set up to do other things apart from profit. So you notice that when you're talking to Nehemiah, the news editor, he was always talking about a story that will sell. When speaking to Ransford, he was talking. Everybody in graphic realizes that money does not come from anywhere to run our business. The money that runs this business comes from the paper we sell, the adverts we sell. So everybody is in tune with that the only way they can improve their fortunes is if the business does well. And for me, it's a culture that has stayed in graphic. And it also just says that once you get the good leadership in place, once the leadership is able to motivate the team, and then they realize the fact that this is something that we can do, that we have our bit in there, it can run. So I think that one of the things for me that I'm happy about is that I think graphic puts to bed this whole story of the fact that the state cannot be in business and be profitable. I think it's been done over the years. We've gone through difficult times, but we've been able to ride the storm, and we've been able to tell the story. So definitely, I'm sure Kwame Nkrumah will be happy that the black man is capable of running a state-owned business and running it profitably, such that we're able to pay dividends, we're able to pay our staff well. We are competitive. We pay as well as multimedia would pay. You know, we train our staff. We invest into our people. We invest into the community in which we operate. And we believe that at the end of the day, you need money to be able to do all of these welfare issues as well. And that's been the philosophy that drives Graphic.
And your dream, your new dream, how have you made everybody bought into it?
Well, the interesting thing is our leadership style is to run both a top-down and a top-down and a down-top approach into. So when we're crafting our new strategy, we make sure that everybody was on board. We make sure that we're carrying everybody along. And now, now that we've finished it, we're making sure that on the pay slips of everybody, sometimes you find the mission of the company written there. You find the vision of the company written there. You find the values written there. And we're going beyond just, you know, telling people the values. We're letting people know that we're telling our managers that we should catch our people living the values, the mission, and the vision, and rewarding them in doing that, such that we're reinforcing a lot more with the carrot than the stick. You know, so we're pushing a lot of that angle because we believe that, you know, we need to empower our people. It's our people that will drive our business. And once we can get all of them buying into the vision, it's easy to be able to deliver what we want to do. And I think that's been the success of the thing. And it's not something that started with Kenneth. It's something that a lot of my forebears who started it, you know, really pushed it. And the team Graphic, marvelous team, you know, they would, once you can share the vision with them and they see that this is good, you find everybody running and rallying around to be able to get it done.
Well, Ken, thank you very much. I was talking to Kenneth Ashigbe, Managing Director of the Graphic Communication Group. And what a success story. What a beautiful story, considering that this is a government-owned corporation. And I'm sure all the other directors out there are listening and thinking, we need to generate our money internally to look after ourselves. And if the staff buy into it, why not? You're watching Corporate Wednesday. This is PM Express. My name is Nana Nsakwa. And tomorrow we'll be back here to do it all over again. And Ken, once again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nana. It's been good talking to you.